Technology that was expensive has this curious way of getting better, faster, and cheaper, and as it does, it diffuses out and it transforms the world in There's this other quote from Lao Tzu. He's an ancient Chinese philosopher, and he said, "To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, subtract things every day." And that's really going to feed into my discussion about unlearning. We heard earlier today that scientific, technical, medical knowledge is doubling every 7 years. So what that means in the future, we're going to know so much more. But what this also means is what we don't know yet is just as, if not more important than what we do know today. Because in this yet unknown knowledge is going to be extraordinary opportunity, but we have to begin opening our minds to seeing these things. So now here's a question I have for all of you. I want you to write down what two colors the yield sign are. If you said yellow and black, congratulations. But yellow and black was the correct answer up until 1971. The yield sign has, in fact, been red and white for close to 40 years. And now I know that some of you are going, no way, that is not right, that is not right. I'm here to tell you, and if you find a yellow and black yield sign, take a photo and email it to me. But here's my point. We've been driving by these red and white yield signs for close to 40 years. And yet, here's the metaphor. All of us learned information in high school, in driver's ed, in college, in law school. That was, in fact, true back then. But the world has changed, but we have not discarded that old information. So now, if you got this question wrong, every time you now drive by a red and white yield sign, I want you to think to yourself, what else might I need to unlearn? Ask you, how many of you know who Frances Ethel Gum is? Can I see a show of hands? Very good. For those of you who don't, she's actually one of Grand Rapids, Minnesota's most famous citizens. We know her as Judy Garland, and Judy Garland's most famous movie is Wizard of Oz, and the most famous line from Wizard of Oz is, "There's no place like home." And I think that that is so true. And I don't care if you're in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Grand Junction, Colorado, or the Grand Cayman Islands. But before we can see this extraordinary opportunity, I think we have to unlearn our ideas of possibilities. One of the things, if we want to unlearn, we have to constantly challenge our assumptions and the way we see the world. I want all of you to think of a Roman numeral watch, okay? And so, tell me, what do you see when you see the numeral 1? What does it look like? Most people say it's a capital I. And the 2, 2 I's, and the 3, 3 I's, and the 4, an I and a V. Well, that's wrong. That is wrong. In fact, most Roman numeral watches don't have a 3 because it's the date, but the 4 is not an I and a V. It's 4 capital I's. And this is true on every Roman numeral watch. My message to you is it is time to unlearn, and the first thing we have to unlearn is we just have to start seeing all of the extraordinary opportunities that are directly in front of us. And let me just walk you through a couple. A couple years ago, Sony getting its butt handed to them by Xbox. And Sony said, well, we can't compete in the video game industry. They have cornered the niche market on young male teenagers. Well, finally, rather than saying, you know what, we don't have to compete in that area, technology has now allowed us to develop new tools. They created something called the Wii, and they went after an entirely different demographic. And today, the fastest growing demographic in the video game industry is people over the age of 65. Very counterintuitive, but by taking a problem, they turned it into an opportunity. I want you to watch what I do, okay? So everyone put your hands out, clap your hands together, flip them over, okay? Everyone take your right hand up, put it up. So everyone, this is your right hand. I now want you to put it over your left so that your thumb is over your left, okay? So that everyone, and now I want you to clap your fingers together, or the two index fingers. So if you've been watching, you should be able to do this. How many of you can do that? Of us, it's pointing the way forward, but we just aren't seeing it. And we have to start seeing it if we want to be prepared for. And I'm going to take the economy first. So I have another little test for you. I want all of you to picture a lake that you're familiar with, okay? And it is the first day of September, and there is a single lily pad on that lake. It then doubles for 30 days, and at the end of the month, the entire lake is covered. So can everyone kind of picture that? So here's the question. On day 20, what percentage of the pond do you think is covered? Well, the answer surprises a lot of people. It's 1/10 of 1%. Even though it's been doubling for 20 days, it just covers a fraction. But what happens in the next 10 days is really nothing short of amazing. By day 25, it's still only about 3%. Day 28, it would be a little over 25%. Day 29, a little over half, and then boom, the whole thing is covered. The reason I tell you this is because there are 9 forces in society that have in fact been doubling. Moore's law, data storage, bandwidth, the sequencing of the human genome, advances in robotics, all of these things have in fact been doubling, but we're only at day 20. So when the way we need to think about the economy is we're just but a fraction of the way into this. There's going to be extraordinary opportunity.